Good morning, moms in real estate. We've had quite the morning. And I honestly feel like we kind of come in hot all the time in moms in real estate because it's like, it's always chaotic. So, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, girls, we are going to kind of, I'm supposed to share my screen and I'm like, I have no idea how to do that. And I don't see it. So, hold on, bear with me. Hi, Christy.
Hi, Christy.
Hey, Christy.
Okay, it says I'm scared. What's it gonna show? Hold on, girls, don't worry. Hold on. Here we go. I got it. All right. Only problem is I don't see you guys anymore. There, now I see you guys. We're up.
Okay.
We're up, you guys. Welcome to She Builds Teams. The hardest part, I texted Erin this morning and I said, why are easy things so hard for me? Like, does anyone else feel that? Like this year, I really felt it when I was making Christmas cards. I think that might have been the hardest thing I did for 2025. So anyways, so we're here today and Rebecca and Erin, I'll introduce them in a second, but they are going to teach you guys how to build the ecosystem behind a profitable, scalable real estate business. So I love this because I talk to women in real estate all the time and they want to build a team, but there's really not a good container for female agents who want to build a team and learn from other female agents who want to. So we wanted to be able to bring that to you guys. And so that's what we're going to do today. And let's go ahead and introduce the girls. So Rebecca, she's on the top. Her power went out before we went on. So when I say we all came in hot, her power in her house went off. So that was one of the reasons. And she, besides that, she's the founder of the CEO Agent Academy, 34 years of experience in real estate, 1,500 plus homes sold. And she is the systems queen. We love Rebecca, me and Erin, because she is really good at stuff that's really hard for us. And Erin is the founder of the Ethridge team, who has 25 years experience and 1,300 plus homes sold. And she's done it all from, a micro team to a mega team. And so really these girls have such great experience to bring to you guys that you guys don't have to fly by the seat of your pants like they had to for so many years. And I'm Kristen. Hopefully, if you're in Moms in Real Estate, you know me by now. I am the founder of Moms in Real Estate, the one that leads this with Randy Mendez. And I am a community builder, the founder of Hello Culture, and yada, 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 all those fun things. So let's get to why you're here. All right, Rebecca, you're up.
All right. So maybe you're here because you feel a bit overwhelmed or burnt out. Maybe you've had a lot of turnover on your team. Maybe your systems need some work. Maybe you felt like business depends entirely on you. And maybe you're trying to decide if you should start a team, keep or grow the one you have. So many different versions of teams exist. And we're here for all of that because we've experienced all of these things at one point or another. And so we're here to talk to you about 8 pillars and all of these problems that you may have also experienced. So let's kind of get to know each other. If you could drop in the chat which best describes you. Do you have a team? Are you building your first team? Are you refining an existing team? What is it that drew you to jump into this morning?
And because we don't have our admin with us today, I'm not really sure how we're going to see the comments. So
I actually think I can see them.
Oh, good. Okay.
I think they pop.
Here we go. Okay.
Awesome.
So lots of building a team, building your first team. Love that. Building your first team. Love that also. Okay. So we're going to cover great content for regardless of where you are in in that space. Overworked. Yep. Understand that. So on the just started a micro team. Love that. On the building your first team component, the one thing I just want to put out there is that we're going to talk a lot about how the team has to really work for you. So just keep that in mind as you're thinking about, the first team component. Okay, Kristen, there we go. Okay, so here are why most teams fail. And before I even go through all of these, if you don't set expectations, well, that's already actually there. If you don't set expectations, they're actually never met on either side of the coin. So teams fail because the structures are built around personalities and not systems. There's an expectation problem. Expenses are really high and profits are really low. And as real estate agents, I don't think a lot of us have spent enough time looking at our profit margins. There can also be a lack of consistency, leadership, and direction. Or a lack of brand cohesiveness and a consistent experience or service that's being provided to the client. Those are some of the most common things that we've seen be problems inside of our own team at one point or another, but also in some of the agents that we coach.
Yeah, and most agents right now, they start their team and they don't have any kind of infrastructure or anything that they're able to scale, because most of the time you are a top producing agent already and you just need help. Like maybe you already have a TC, but you might need a showing partner. You might need, whatever. How I started, it was 7 years ago. I was a successful solo agent. I was doing 16 to 20 million a year and I had a TC, but it got to a point where I could either not take on another buyer or seller, or I needed to hire, a showing partner or somebody on my team to help me with that business. And I feel like that's so many team leaders, right? So what had happened was is that 5 of my friends came to me and they came to me and I was like, no, I'm not starting a team. I don't want that kind of responsibility. Because as women, we lead households and I already felt like I was, just already in charge of too much kind of a thing, right? But when, that statistic where 90% of all realtors fail inside the first 2 years, that really is a real thing. Like, and I strongly feel, don't you think, Rebecca, that it's mainly because of lack of coaching and lack of direction, or not joining a team and getting the training and things that they need to up front, right?
For sure.
So that's kind of what I had decided on, is like, okay, screw it. I can't let my 5 friends fail. So I'm going to just develop the Ethridge team that day. But I didn't know anything about how to lead people just in general, or having any kind of systems along the way. And why Rebecca and I wanted to put this together is that we wanted to save you hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of time, because what you put in place today, even making small decisions on all of these pillars that we're going to talk about today, every single decision you make up front has a ripple effect onto your team, right? So why don't you write down what part of your business, Kristen, you can flip to the next slide, what part of your business feels maybe disconnected, or why you're starting a team. Is there anything that you feel misaligned with? Because I think that that's also why we decide that we want a micro team, a mega team, and then what are some things that you feel you need the most help with in order to build the successful team? Obviously, we're going to answer a ton of these questions as we go along, but we would love to hear from you guys of where you're at in that process.
I feel like it takes a second for the comments to pop in.
Yeah.
Going back to what Erin was saying about, the agents coming in who, don't succeed, and that being such a high percentage. I've also seen how there's a really high percentage of teams that fall apart, and teams that don't, there's no longevity in them. So we're really hoping to take that off your plate. We're hoping to take that out of, out of your situation. Okay,
right. Because I didn't know anything about like splits or anything like that. Exactly.
Yeah. So we really believe firmly in building an ecosystem, right? And what do I mean by ecosystem? It is aligning your vision, your systems, your ops, your agent support, your leadership, your structure, the people, and the culture. The ecosystem, all of those things, as Erin mentioned, play into one another. And so we're going to cover what those things look like and how you can connect them. Because when one is off, for example, if you don't have systems in place, there's that ripple effect and it creates problems with your people. And then when you have problems with your people, it creates culture issues. Okay, Kristen, next up. So here's our 8-pillar framework. And what I love about all of us coming together here is that we kind of went separately and created lists of things that we felt were most important in our team building journey. And, you know, Erin and I have both had actual real estate teams selling and producing and whatnot. She and I came back with almost the exact same list, maybe not in the same order, but we were so in alignment with what our 8 pillars were. So we're going to talk to you about vision and structure, team roles and responsibilities, contracts and compensation, systems and SOPs, marketing, branding, training, onboarding, culture, leadership, and retention, and then growth and ancillary services. Because we do also believe firmly in creating additional income streams. And we're going to talk about each one of these in a little bit more depth.
Yeah, for vision, structure, and value proposition, I think the very first layer is really figuring out what type of agent you want to work with or what you feel best aligned with. Like for me, I absolutely have a huge heart for brand new agents, but that's not everybody. And the reason is number one, a brand new agent is moldable, right? Like they don't have any bad habits, but they don't have any habits at all, essentially. They are from the ground up. You have got to teach them how to pull comps, how to write offers. And it's not just like 1 or 2 times that you have to show them. It's many times. So sometimes it can take that agent really long to get up and running. As well as if I hand a brand new rookie agent a lead, the statistic is actually at 16%. So 16% of the time they would actually be able to convert that. Whereas if I give it to a second year team member, that is at 28%. And somebody that has been in the business for 3 years or more is going to be able to convert that lead at 34%. So do you enjoy working with new agents? Do you only want to work with people that are selling 2 to 5 million a year? Who do you like working with? First and foremost is a big conversation of vision. As far as the different types of teams, you can switch the slide, Kristen. As far as the different types of teams, and I saw a couple in the group chat of the micro, the small team, a marketing group, and a mega team. So just for clarity's sake, I want to kind of quick walk through that. So a micro team means that it is the team leader. So myself, and I'll tell you, I've got 3 different teams inside of one team. I'll show you how the breakdown kind of works. So, so I have a micro team.
It's kind of like Inception.
Yeah, it's like Inception.
That's
right.
your team.
A team within a team. So basically a micro team, that means that all of the business is for the team leader, provided for or with, you are working together. Like let's say you have a production partner and they're making phone calls on your behalf. They're showing your property. Everyone only gets paid when that team leader gets paid. So a lot of people will have the team leader and maybe like a production partner, or what's really popular is showing partners, showing agents, and a TC. So that is a micro team, just 3 or 4 people typically on that micro team. A small team is like what Rebecca has, what I kind of do right now. But I had a mega team last year. So a small team is anywhere from 5 to 15 agents. It used to be much smaller than that typically. But now with all of these mega teams, the mega teams are really like 20 25. Wouldn't you say, Rebecca? I'd say 25
Yeah.
is like a minimum for a mega team now.
Minimum for a mega team for sure.
Yeah.
When I think mega teams, I think 50 agents or more.
Yeah.
That 25 agent, maybe a medium-sized team, but it's super important to identify where you want to fall for sure.
Right. And then there's these marketing groups or these lower split teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how we're defining those is something like a 10 or a 15% team, where you're not supplying leads. You might be doing a meeting or offering all the templates, but you're not deal doctoring. You're not in their deals day to day, going over paperwork or what's working, what's not working. So that's what I would say on that one. Okay, next slide.
Can I backtrack just for a second? Backtrack for just a second? The comment here, and I did see it and then I forgot. So one of the comments that came in says, we comments feeling like there's a lot of team agents who don't appreciate the team. So true. Whoever has posted that. And we briefly touched upon, your value proposition and setting your value proposition, clarity on what kind of team you're running, what your value proposition is, understanding your numbers, and being so able to, at the drop of a pin, just like you would with a seller, be able to articulate what it is that you're offering will help in that arena. But I also have to tell you, it's just going to happen. And that is an unfortunate truth. I have an agent that I just let go this week. And, one of the conversations was, lack of production and lack of action, right? And so, her response was about the fees. And I was in my mind thinking, sure, you're questioning the fee structure, but the fee structure doesn't matter if you're not producing anything. And so there was a disconnect there, even though I'm super articulate about value. And I believe that I'm delivering at the highest level from a value standpoint. You are just going to get that, right? Would you agree, Erin? You're going to get the agent that is like, oh, I don't know what you're doing for me.
Yeah, you're going to have some of that no matter what and wherever you're at in your journey. And unfortunately, you're also going to have a turnover. I had super low turnover until the market turned and people got really scarcity mindset about what is mine and what is theirs and really looking at that. But there's always going to be a certain percentage of agents that do super need your help and they are so thankful. And those are the people that we want to work with, right? It's just like in real life when we're out working with buyers and sellers. If somebody doesn't see your value, deuces.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? Like, you don't want to work with me? Cool. I don't want to work with you either,
Yeah. And that's super important. Sorry for interrupting your
No, you're
there.
good.
I thought that was an important one to address.
Yeah, you're good. I think one of the biggest things that nobody stopped me from myself up front was what I was charging, what it took to be profitable. So what I mean by that is that I was 3 years into running my team and my accountant had come to me and he's like, hey, I got to ask, do you like running a nonprofit? I'm like, well, what do you mean? And he's like, well, the numbers are saying that you're producing at a high income, but you're the one that's paying for the office and the leads and everything. You're just not noticing that it's your money and not the team's money because they're not bringing in anything, right? So when you are starting up a team, it's just starting a new business. So there is going to be a period of ramp up time. And just like if you were opening up a coffee shop, you're going to have to buy the coffee cups, pay the baristas and the coffee and everything before the customers come. There's a certain amount of ramp up period. But I wish that somebody would have told me that I was charging way too little in order to grow on the backside, right?
Yeah. And that also ties into what we were talking about agents not understanding or appreciating the team. They never see the expense, right? They never see the expense. I run multiple teams and 3 businesses essentially within my team structure. I know that my expenses are $168,000 a year. there is no team member in any one of those structures that has any idea of being able to like rationalize that. And so, there are often times where they don't appreciate the expense. And, one of the things that I hear a lot from team leads is, oh, they're not producing, but it doesn't matter. They're not really costing me anything. They definitely are, right?
They're always costing you.
$20 every hour you spend somewhere, like it is definitely an expense. And that, as Erin mentioned, her accountant coming to her and saying, hey, got to ask you a question. Why are you doing this? Right? You have to be mindful of those things. And, I'm guilty of it too. Oh, we've got one more email address. It's only $15 a month. And, oh, we're adding that person to our Dropbox account. It's just $24 a month. Right. Or we're adding that person to the CRM. It's no big deal. It's only another $30 a month. So quickly, you now have $100 to $200 a month potentially on an agent. If that agent is not producing or you don't have a contract in place where those expenses are being covered, it's coming out of your pocket.
Right. And also for future planning is that if you don't charge enough money, because like, for instance, on my team, I was like, oh, these are my friends. I don't want to take from them. Like I only had taken 10% or something stupid upfront. And with that 10% in my mind, that's what I would pay for a top producing agent, right? Like I wouldn't join a team and have a 50-50 split or something, but you're not the person that we're after right here. We're after the people that are not doing the volume or production that we're doing, and they want what we have. Well, guess what? When you go to college, it costs money, like the training and everything costs money. And that's the cost of it. So they can pay the cost or they can pay it with their time and take way longer in order to ramp up. I mean, you don't have to have somebody train you. You could hang out for 3 to 5 years and not make money if you make it that long. Right.
Yeah.
But I think that the biggest thing that I want to emphasize here is just that profit isn't what's left over. It's what you plan for. And for me, it was a very big eye opener because I was only charging this 10%. Well, that's fine for today's expenses, but you can't plan for the future. Like I couldn't hire another assistant or admin or buy some more leads for the team because I had no money to do it with, unless I wanted to spend more of my money.
Yeah, and the one thing, the one part here that I'd like to drive home is that production and GCI does not equal profit. Mm-hmm. Right. And so you need to build a model around your margins, not your GCI. And I see number of units in GCI used more often than not.
And what you're looking for there, I just had my accountant call this morning, which is always I'm like, I made 1.15 million this year. Well, I didn't make that, but I did have, you're shooting for a 30% profit, and that's what you should be making after all expenses is what you really want to aim for. But we'll go into more of that, of like how you should get that set up and what you should or shouldn't spend money on and the right times for that. But let's move on to the next one, Kristen. Basically, when you are first getting the team set up, it's super important that you have some basic framework put in. And what I mean by that is having either something in the background, like a Google site or a team intranet where everything's going to live. We learned early on that Google Drive was just not going to be it. And the reason is because the team members don't know what you called something or where to find things. People edit the wrong things in there. It's not going to be the right fit. I can tell you that right away. It would fill the holes for a minute, but not for very long. So I used, right now I'm on MyHub. It's MyHub is just an internal internet. And basically my team members have exactly, hey, I have a buyer. So now what? And it walks them through step by step and all of the forms and all of the checklists. so that and along with all the videos of exactly, here's how you pull comps, here's how you, like, you're going to make sure that you do this, right? So every single thing is in order and it's laid out very nicely on that team intranet. You could also do something like a Google site. I know that a lot of people, like myself included. So I think the My Hub, I pay $1,200 a year to have it. And Rebecca, you have your own site, right?
Yeah. And along the lines of Erin talking about that framework and, establishing your positions before hiring, having all of that documented somewhere is going to shorten your pain points without a doubt. So, inside of your hub, you should also be cognizant of roles, responsibilities, as well as processes. I use a Squarespace site and do have everything stored there. It has great search functions. It's a one-stop shop for agents as far as like I'm on the front end of the site. Now I can log in and I'm in the back end. So there are a lot of different things out there, and we're going to definitely, tap into more of that, actual systems later on in the presentation. But Erin is correct. You've got to have everything in one place and have all of your people identified.
Yeah, and we'll talk, Jeannie, more about some of the different things that I do and cover on the team. But at 10%, if you choose to do 10%, like, you really can't pay for much of anything. Wouldn't you say, Rebecca? Like,
yeah. And also, Jeannie, I would say, like, to your 0% split, and trying to establish what it is that you're providing. I believe for my team, the deal doctoring is one of the biggest values, and the education component that we're, Erin as well, that we're able to provide agents to help them build a business and help them increase their production and increase their profit is the invaluable part. All of the other things are super valuable, but they do quickly eat into your pocket. So you have to be cognizant of that. I think 10% is 10% only works if it's a marketing group, in my opinion.
Right. Where it's basically, you could maybe lead a team meeting and offer some templates, but you really cannot, you can't offer CRMs. You definitely can't offer client events. You can't offer that is your team meeting. And I wouldn't take a meeting outside of that, honestly. Lindsay, it's called My Hub, MY Hub. But you can also do it through Google site if you're paying for your Gmail, right? If you're paying for your .com email, right? Then I think it's free inside of Google. And so some people, like, I'm rebuilding our site inside of there right now. You can use Squarespace. There's lots of different ways that you can have it. All I'm saying is figure out where all of your stuff is going to live. Because the most annoying thing when you get started on the team is these agents, it doesn't even matter if they're new or if they're experienced, you still have to onboard them, and you have to have the sequence and how you want things to be done all the way mapped out. But the truth is, if you have to repeat yourself more than twice, you have to have a whole library of videos so that you're not sitting there and wasting your time saying the exact same thing or showing six different agents how to pull comps. You can only show them so many different ways. You know what I'm saying? So I would suggest we use Loom Video, and anything that you repeat more than twice must be recorded in a Loom Video. And so we have that set up to where if somebody asks a question, one, they can go into the Loom library and see all of those things very easily marked, right? But also my admin is trained to, if somebody asks a question of just like, oh, I got a buyer, but I don't know where the blah, 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 then the admin sends the video. They don't answer them how to do it. They actually want them to go to the video and then go from there, right?
Yeah.
So also having something that is project-based, project management based, whether that is Asana, Slack, Zoom, Asana. I use Asana for project management, but you're also going to need something where the team can chat with each other. I know some people are using Telegram, some people are using Facebook groups. We use Slack because for my brain, I can see like, okay, open houses, open houses, broker questions. Like I can go down the channel and see what things I can help with or where we need to lay that out. But it's also with the systems, I would tell you to stay as light as possible until you have the money coming in order to add more systems, because you can't buy things or I like doing client events. I like doing team parties. But if you're not making at least 30% from these agents, like you legit cannot supply that, or you will go negative on your team. You absolutely will. And from me to you, you're welcome. That's worth it. Because I wish that somebody would have told me that. It's really 30%. And what I mean by that is that you have to have an average. So like Rebecca charges under that. Like, what do you charge, Rebecca?
Yeah. So, well, let's tie this into Kristen. Can you move slides? Because this is a good segue into. Let's go to the next one, like clear descriptions and different roles, because this kind of ties in nicely.
Yeah, because then that's a good idea. So then.
Yeah. So from a fee standpoint, I have several different fee structures I have one fee structure. It is a graduated structure. I do have a small team, but I do also have a marketing group. And on an average on my team, I'm still averaging 35%, between 33 and 35% on every transaction with every agent on the team. But it is, again, a graduated scale. And we'll talk about plans a little bit further. But the roles to consider, Erin, I'll turn this back over to you. The roles to consider hiring and having the clarity around the roles that you want plays into the commission plan and into your structure.
Totally. Because this is something that I should have also looked at, is because when we think that we need to hire for our team, right? Some of us really just need to have a house manager, somebody that can pick up and drop off kids and get dinner started and the laundry done at the house. Like, if that was done, could you make some more phone calls and have some more appointments in the day, right? So I just want to make sure that we also are looking at your life from all different angles, because it could be an in-house admin, a virtual assistant, a transaction coordinator, a buyer or showing partner. Maybe it's just a videographer. Maybe you need to get out on all more sites or have a social media manager, right? Or an inside sales agent that is calling your database. So having really clear job descriptions, and then what is important to you is going to be really important of how you move the team forward.
Yeah. Okay. Next. So along those lines, and when we talk about compensation and roles, there are a ton of different options for what that looks like. The non-negotiable is having contracts. Just like in a real estate transaction, the contract is where, everything is fine until it's not, right? The contract is what you go back to iron out disagreements or to refresh people's memory about what was agreed upon. Same thing with a team. You have to have contracts in place. It prevents any kind of animosity down the line, or it prevents kind of that tug with agents saying, well, I thought I was getting this, and maybe going even back to the conversation about, teams don't really appreciate what the team lead is providing. The contracts can create clarity around that as well. So Kristen, if you can bump to the next one. Contracts should definitely include roles and responsibilities. Like, what is each person responsible for? It should definitely include a compensation structure. Lead ownership is a big one. So what do we mean by that? Like, if you give a referral to an agent on your team and, you have to have clear written instruction as to what happens to that lead when they should leave. I believe the team lead maintains that if they've provided it. But there are a million different ways to strike a happy median there for you based on your goals, but make sure that that's something that's included. Expectations and standards is another big one. Again, the agent on my team that I mentioned today, earlier today, we have an expectation. I have a 12 deal a year minimum production. Obviously, sometimes you're going to have an agent who has an off year. As a team lead, you need to factor that in and you need to take those things into consideration. But at the end of the day, if agents aren't actively seeking business or they're not actively working their business and the production is down, that's from an expectation and standard standpoint that I know that I have to make a change. But you got to have it written down. Accountability and consequences, a termination clause. What happens at termination? Confidentiality and non-solicitation. You should also have systems, tools, and resources that you provide in every single contract. Okay, next up. So compensation plans. We chatted a little bit about this, but we'll dive into it a little bit more. There's really no right split. The only thing that you have to make sure is that it's profitable and that you're not losing money on the agents that are on your team. So splits are actually built after your business plan. And what do I mean by that? I mean that the splits, saying I'm going to do, as Erin mentioned, oh, I'll just take these people on. I'm not going to have to do much for them. I will take 10%. If she had created a business plan first and had all of the expenses of having a team, what that looked like, she would have been able to recognize that the 10% split doesn't work. So we really are, really proponents of creating that business plan, and then you build your splits around that. You have to know your expenses and you have to know your value before you choose a compensation plan. So again, going back to, like, I believe one of my strongest suits is the deal doctoring and the closing. Right? We don't have sale fails, very, very few sale fails. I've been in the business for a really long time. I've seen a lot of really crazy things. And so being able to help agents solve problems and being able to help agents overcome objections and sign the deals, that is a huge value add for the agents on my team. And you need to understand this going in. You also should really be treating yourself like an agent on the team. I'll come back to what I mean by that, but ultimately your production is your income. You shouldn't be funneling your income back into the team. So treat yourself like an agent on the team means that, yes, you are a business owner, but you should have a percentage of your income, your transaction income, funneling back into the team, right? Just like Sarah or Jackie or Joan or whomever is on your team, they have money that's going into the team pot. You should be doing the same thing. And again, remembering that, team splits can change, and it's okay if you change compensation plans at some point, but you should factor in the opportunity for doing that inside of your contract. So for example, I have a clause in my contract where we revise, we have the opportunity to revise team splits and discuss with the agent on a yearly review basis. You want to make sure you have something like that in your contract. One thing I can say is people don't like willy-nilly anything. They've come to you as a leader and they want to make sure you want to make sure you are leading. If you're randomly just saying, oh, I'm changing the splits to this, or we're increasing costs here, people are going to lose. I think interest is one thing, but they're also going to feel unsettled by that. That's been my experience. And of course, I learned that the hard way. Okay. Systems and operations are definitely the backbone to freedom. Kristen, you can move to the next one here. If your business stops when you leave, you don't have a business, you have a job. And systems and structure can really help fix that. And that is such an important thing, thinking about your team building journey. So many agents, somebody in the comments earlier said, I'm just overworked, right? I'm just burnt out. If your production is the overall producing income in your team, then there's something wrong, right? You can't be the primary do everything, but also make everything. And that is super important. And having good systems in place that your team members can be successful with, as Erin mentioned, like if you have to explain something more than once, you want to have that stored somewhere in a library. That's also super scalable, right? Because each time you make one and each time you share it with an agent, you've created something that you can use infinite numbers of time, right? And so that structure and the systems are so important. Okay, ops versus marketing. Marketing in real estate, who agrees with this? Marketing for agents is often overdeveloped and operations are underdeveloped. Anyone feel that? Yeah. And so, I think social media, for example, is an amazing tool. But if you have an agent that is great at social media and they are great at lead generation, but they cannot close a deal, then that's a problem, right? Because an agent who is excelling at social media but not closing any deals needs development in other areas. And your operations are going to help you with that.
Right.
Okay, Kristen, next up. So another value of having processes and procedures documented is that consistency actually creates confidence. It creates confidence in you as a leader when you are answering the same question in the same way every single time. That's really important. And it creates confidence in your ability to actually communicate value. That consistency in the process. Team consistency evaluates, it actually elevates, the level of service that's provided, to clients, but it also helps with agent attraction. If your agents are doing things in a certain way and they're representing the team in a certain way, you will find that brings you other agents to the team. For many years, I didn't recruit to the team at all. I would get calls from agents saying, hey, we did a deal together. I did a deal with one of the agents on your team. I love everything about the process, love everything about the marketing. I'd be interested in interviewing. So you got to remember that too, when you're thinking about creating that back-end system that Erin was talking about and creating your value proposition. Leadership overview and management, when you have consistency in processes and procedure, is also so much easier. So, an example, I have a team lead that I am coaching right now, and that team lead, she uses Zip forms and DocuSign, and another agent on her team uses SkySlope, and another one uses DigiSign. Like, everyone on the team is using something different. For her to be able to help them deal doctoring is very, very hard because she doesn't have easy access to their contracts. So that was, and I'm saying that, and I think it's crazy, but it is a reality for a lot of how teams are run. Your leadership and overview and management, if everyone is utilizing the same systems and everything is flowing in the same way, becomes, again, so much easier and less time consuming. I know on my own team, if I have an agent that says I'm having a problem on this contract, in 2 clicks, I can pull the entire contract pack up and be able to walk through it with her. And that's really an important component for sure.
And I would also tack onto that too, Rebecca, is that so many agents don't document, they don't document their whole process to begin with. So if you don't document exactly how you take in a buyer or a seller or anything, please start there. Because firstly, that's how you're going to be training. You're not going to train differently than how you're already doing it. But it's important to have that step-by-step written out in a true SOP, and you just keep improving upon that.
Yes, so important. So streamlining tools to scale, keep in mind technology should make your life easier, not more complicated. Before you add new tools, we really suggest evaluating what you already have and what problem you're actually solving with what you have, and also what problem you're looking to solve by bringing on new technology. The right tech creates efficiency. The wrong tech creates confusion. And this multiplies and quadruples and breeds a whole life of itself if you have technology that you're not using and you're not comfortable with, and now you're introducing it to agents on your team. It becomes super expensive because there's not a great attrition rate, meaning that the agents on your team actually aren't tapping in and using it. So that's problematic because it's an expense without value, right? But also it's the confusion component. And I do get that a lot in inside of my coaching business, where agents will say, we've got all of these tools, but I'm not really using them. No one seems to know how they work. No one seems to know how they function. You want to spend your time in other areas working with team members other than that technology component. So nail that, and you can always add later, but make sure you can also answer the questions, or you have somebody on your team that can. Okay, next slide. So what kind of systems do you have to have? And what kind of systems do we talk about inside of the intensive? We talk about CRMs, email marketing, contract and transaction management, communication platforms, task and project management. Erin mentioned some of these earlier. Centralized storage, file storage, accountability and performance tracking, listing and marketing systems, lead routing and notification systems, appointment scheduling, recruiting and onboarding, marketing creation, and asset management. That seems like an overwhelming list. Sometimes we go over that list and agents are like, that's too much. What you're looking for is systems that do more than one of these inside of one system, because I think another pain point for agents is having to log into 75 different platforms, right? And so Erin, mentioned right up front, having that hub, so important. And when you think about agent retention and you think about value proposition, the more beautifully you can package like ease of doing business, that business in a box component for agents, the easier it'll be for them to see the value. Would you agree with that, Erin?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's really, I don't like logging into multiple different things, but then also you just start to forget like the name of like, oh, well, what does Fellow do again? What does listing leads do? Like you have to reintroduce what each of these things do. And then if they didn't need it or weren't using it to begin with, or maybe there's one or two people that are using it, like, should you keep paying for it? Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. And also technology changes over time, right? So we just made a shift because one of our platforms added, a feature. And so we can get rid of one program now and move it to the other platform. Those are things you want to keep take into consideration. That shift saved me $360 a month.
Yep.
Okay, so a little break real quick for us to talk about the blueprint. You guys, this is coming in February 2026, so just around the corner. What I will tell you is all the details are coming very, very soon. So we put the wait list. If you guys are like, this is really good, but I need more, as we go through this, you might keep thinking that. So if you go to the comments, there's a link for you guys to just put your name and your email. And as soon as we open the doors, you're going to have a complete blueprint if you're building a team, along with other things like we're doing a retreat in person so you can be around other girls that are building teams, all of that kind of stuff. So you just want to make sure that you click the link and put your name and your email on there.
Okay, branding that attracts the right people. You can move to the next one on this one, Kristen. When we talk branding, as far as a team is concerned, it is actually a business decision rather than a creative experience. And I know that sounds a little bit backwards because branding is font and color and imagery and all of those things. And yes, that is true. But branding is actually part of the business decision inside of a team. If you can switch to the next slide. You know, what we mean by that is that, one more. Can we go one more? Okay, great. So every branding decision that you make actually as a team lead, it flows into your operations, your commission plans, your expenses, your recruiting, your retention. It's actually part of your value proposition. So what are some examples of that? So for example, within your team, do you want all of your team members to use a team email address? You know, for example, my team is Selling Portland Real Estate. So all of my agents use a Selling Portland Real Estate email address. That's kind of a system thing, but it's also a branding decision. It's a branding decision as well. And that becomes an expense. So that flows into operations and commission plans and expenses. You also want to set standards around signs. And ladies, there's no right or wrong answer. You could actually have, you could actually allow your team to use whatever sign. It's just a decision that you've made up front. And again, it's part of that branding decision. Our signs, Erin and I have, you know, two different plans. If we think about signage, all of my team agents are have to use the team signs, and then they have their own riders. Erin has a different policy and procedure around that. Erin, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, because what Rebecca did, which was super smart, is she did
Selling Portland Real Estate. Yep. Sellingportlandrealestate.com on all of our signs.
Sellingportlandrealestate.com on all of her signs. All branding is completely matching. And then it's just the sign writer with that agent's phone number, right? Yep. What I did on my team is that I wanted to make sure that my agents were able to brand themselves, because there comes a point in time where you're an agent on a team and you just want to have, like, it kind of starts to feel like a little ick kind of. And because I chose my last name as the team name, I do feel like people like having, a chance where they can do their own logo or whatever. Now, what I did is that I do require them to use the Brivity phone number, and that's my CRM phone number. The reason is because every single call is recorded, and it's easier for them to actually track where their money is coming from. Like, if somebody calls you on your sign, then you might take that phone call, but then you're never going to follow up with them again, right? So I chose to do that, and I know Rebecca pays for their emails every single month because, right, you wanted it to all be matching, to look cohesive, like they're all working at this big company together, right? Where mine, I have Erin at the EthridgeTeam.com, and so does all of my staff, but all of my agents, the only thing that I required from them is that they have a .com. Like, I didn't want anyone to have a Gmail. And that is because I just feel strongly that if you are a lawyer, if you are a doctor, like, would you go to a doctor's office and if they had a Gmail, like, it's just not professional. So I just needed them to look professional, but I didn't need access on their email side of that. Yeah. So we just took a little different approach.
That ties in, Kristen, if you can bump slides. What Erin and I were just talking about is, like, you making the decision as to how you want your team to show up in the market, right? So intentionally deciding, a team name, right? So you could go with your own personal name. Some agents don't want to work in that environment because they feel like they're constantly marketing and branding the team lead. If you're running a micro team, you absolutely want to build out a team with your team name, because the micro team agents around is basically where you have agents around that team lead. So these are just decisions you need to make up front. You want also to position your team in a way where clients have a certain perception. And that comes down to the team structure that you decide on. You also want to make sure you have created an environment of how, you want to be cognizant of how agents would feel about joining you. And then, of course, the long-term value of building, right? Some names create legacy and are saleable. Others don't. Others could limit you in the future. So that is branding, but it's all part of the business decision component of a team.
Yeah. And Kendra, you had a good question of just like, if you have a micro team or like a marketing group and then a micro team or whatever, how I have it set up is everything gets paid into my PLLC and everything is under the Ethridge team. But my accountants, so my accountant has it separated out of these agents are on my marketing group. These are my 2 that are production partners, right? Like that's kind of how I have that set up. But back to the recruiting and retention part, because this is so huge of figuring out, back to the beginning of like figuring out who you want to have on your team and then attracting them based on your standards and what your vision is, right? Yeah. So again, it's like new agents, they just need coaching. They just need guidance. They need, I don't want to say a little bit more hand-holding because you don't want people that won't do anything without you, right? But if you are attracting agents that are in the business, you don't want to that have been in the business for any length of time, like doing 5 million or more. Like you have to imagine that donkeys don't want to hang out with horses or horses don't want to hang out with donkeys, right? So these brand new agents, like a $5 million, $10 million, $20 million producer is not trying to hang out with rookie agents. Who are they trying to hang out with? Somebody that is either doing the same as them or more than them. So how are you going to appeal to them on their team? And are you going to give special things to them? Are you going to have a tier system set up based on their production? Because people leave teams because they run out of runway. They don't have a vision of how they would add a showing partner. How can they add their own name to the sign, right? Or whatever that might be. I would highly encourage you is that when you have a producing agent that is making money on your team, is instead of just saying no, like these are the splits or the splits or the splits, just like when we're going for buyers or sellers, we're negotiating still though, right? It's like, yes, like how can you find a way to say yes? So ask before you say no, just ask yourself of how you can say yes, of like, yes, I'm happy to get you the split when that you want when you get to 50 deals a year or when you get to 50 deals and have XYZ or whatever you're doing. Right.
And that always makes me think of the 3 of us were on a one-on-one with a team lead, and that team lead was struggling a little bit with a top producing agent on the team. Her expectation was that the top producing agent she brought them on at a lower split because of production. And her expectation was that the top producing agent on the team would need less time, right? Because they were already doing a certain volume. And what she found is that agent actually needed a lot. That agent was also very, taking a lot of admin time, right? It was a high maintenance situation on admin. So, keep that in mind too, when you're thinking about attracting to, agent attraction, what kind of agent do you want? For me, I like the agent that is in that 4 million, I like to coach agents up and teach them how to go from 4 million to 10 million to 15 million, right? Erin likes the newer agents. That's just all part of what you have to establish up front.
But I think also when I first started, I was just so naive of like, I just want to have 5 agents doing 8 million or more. All of us do. But ultimately, when we have, we have the Navy, and you can't have the Navy SEALs without having the Navy. There's always going to be a certain amount of people that are just doing, the 4 million a year. And then you're going to find some of the agents that are doing very well, and they're going to want to hang out with each other, and they're going to want a few extra things and things like that, if that's who you want and that's who you're marketing to.
For sure.
Yeah. Next one. Basically, I would say the biggest thing where I messed up is that I was hiring out of pain. Like, oh my gosh, I'm just so busy. Like, I need someone to go show this, right? I was hiring out of pain instead of really having everything laid all the way out, because a good team leader should really be able to see into the future for the next year of what you are going to do, what you need to have in place by X amount of time. Like, okay, inside of 3 months, I need to have 50 grand in the bank because I'm going to hire 2 different admins, and I want to have 3 months of salary saved up before I'm able to. Does that make sense? Like, you want to be able to have some of those things in there, because you don't want to just hire people just to hire people. It's not hard to find agents. It's really not. But having some of the agents that aren't in the right alignment with you can bring down the culture on your team, as well as, to Rebecca's point earlier, is that it definitely costs you money to have them on your team, even though you think it might not.
One thing I would add to that is I get a lot of agents that come to me and say, I just need a body. I just need a person. When I go back to, a conversation earlier this morning about, if expectations are never set, they are never met. And when you're in that fight or flight mode of being so overworked that you're like, I just need a body, I can almost assure you that 99% of the time that's not going to work out. Right. Mm-hmm. So you might need to go back to, who do I actually need to hire in order to solve some of my problems? And it might not actually be an agent. And the definition of a team can be anything you want it to be. It might be an assistant. It might be a transaction coordinator. It might be a VA. Really evaluating that before just bringing people on will save you a lot of gray hairs and a lot of wrinkles. Trust me, I have them all.
Yeah. It will save you a ton of time, but it's also just hiring for culture and clarity. And that when you're training these people, that you really have to have a watch me, right? But the most painful aspect that most team leaders don't either do or don't make the time to do, and that's watch them do it. Okay. It's so painful. It's so hard to watch them mess up something, but they have to watch me, then I watch them, and then they should be able to go, once they've perfected, once I've seen them perfect it, then they should be able to go off on their own and do open houses and buyer consultations, seller consultations, because we can't just take for granted that they know what the heck they're doing, because they don't.
For sure.
So magnetize through your messaging is basically, if you are running a small team or a micro team, that one-on-one, what you're marketing to is really that one-on-one, I cannot talk today, one-to-one attention, right? Like, you're going to give those people more attention because guess what? You have it. But at one point I was up to 33 agents, and I gave one-on-one attention to the agents that were producing at a high level, because that's who needed my attention. The agents at the lower level needed the attention of my team trainer, right? Like, they didn't need the CEO doesn't, like, there's different ranks, and that's like part of having your org chart kind of mapped out of where your vision for the team might go. But also, just don't change who you are and what you ultimately want just because you think it's time. It's kind of just like, oh, like, you got married, so you must have a baby. Like, you finally made it in real estate. It's time for you to start a team. I agree that everybody does need a team, though.
Yes.
I definitely think that everybody needs a team. It's just figuring out what kind of team you need for your personal lifestyle and production and what you ultimately want to make, right? So just stand your grounded and go off of, what you've built on that. Next slide, Kristen, because the main thing that going back to Rebecca's.
Sorry, 1 second, it's stuck.
You're good. The main thing is that people can't, if you aren't clear on your expectations, then no one is going to be able to meet them. And you have to inspect what you expect. Otherwise, agents came to you with a belief and an understanding of the value that you sold them on. And if you're not delivering those goods, that's when that misalignment starts happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as the slide says, your retention planning has to start before the hire, and having the systems in place, having the structure in place, having your business built out, before bringing agents on, understanding what you're going to offer them. All of those things are part of that retention. Okay. Jeannie just asked, can you tell us more about the team trainer? And I think that's a great one to tap into.
Yeah. So, and that's probably why I still love new agents, is because I don't have to be the one doing the contracts with them, or I just get to be like, yeah, you sold a deal. Like, that's amazing. So I have a team trainer, and she does all of the training and coaching with them. And by that, I mean, Mondays and Tuesdays, she is literally teaching them how to write an offer. Here's the different addendums. Here's what you can say, what you can't say. Now pull these comps, send them to me. What did you come up with? Here's where you messed up. You need to work on X, Y, Z. And then they move it to the next week. Right. So I think that that's part of it, but I didn't start off with a team trainer. Like I was the team trainer. You were looking at her for, I think, the first 5 years. So it's really just been the last couple of years that I've had a team trainer in place. Of course, I offer her a percentage for the first 3 deals that those agents do with her. And she's very happy with that split. So I actually pay her, the agents that come in, it's a 50-50 split on those first 3 deals, because it's just too much work. And then I just let her take 25%. Some people will only offer 10% to the team trainer, which I think is good also. I just wanted to make sure that she really felt that it was worth it to teach on Mondays, Tuesdays, and writing contracts with people at 9:00 at night, right? Like, not everybody would get excited over 10%, but for 25%, she feels like it's worth it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So leading with clarity and boundaries and values, the first, one of the first things that you have to do is really sit down and figure out what you want to have as far as your, like, ultimately what's important to you. Like, Rebecca, what were some of the things that you absolutely must have for your setting up your team?
Yeah. So the biggest clarity for me, contractual astuteness is like a non-negotiable for me with a team member. And, that is a driving component in the training that I do. Like, I want agents to be so contractually astute that they're leading in transactions, right? And they that helps our conversion rates. It helps our conversion rates with buyers. It helps our conversion rates on listings, as well as our pending to closed ratios. So that was non-negotiable for me. Boundaries and values, from a boundary standpoint, one of the things that I struggled with at a certain point in time was, I was not clear enough as to how agents could use admin support. Mm-hmm. And my admin, who is a yes person, who's been with me for, she's licensed. She's, our director of operations. She's been with me for 13 years. She's a yes person. So she was saying yes to things that she should totally have been saying no to. But ultimately, it was my fault because I hadn't actually clarified what she was available to do for agents on the team. So that was definitely a boundary mistake that I had to remedy, right? And then values, values are so, so important. I've actually not had a problem with having an agent on the team that I recognize didn't have a shared value, a shared sense of right and wrong, or a shared sense of how we were going to treat our clients. But I do know a lot of agents that have hired people and then been really struggling with, their ability to set a standard of care with clients. Right. And I've coached agents who I don't feel have set a standard of care with clients. So that needs to be part of your culture conversation for sure.
Yeah, because I think for me, I only hire full-time agents that are hardworking agents. Same as you, Rebecca, my hot button is if you can't write an offer, like I absolutely cannot stand when my agents do not have a very clear, clean, well-written offer. Like if there's mess all over that offer, that it just screams incompetence. And as an agent on the other side, I just don't want to be part of that mess, right? I already know the second I receive that offer that I'm going to be doing more work, right, with that agent. So that's what I would say on like, and then also just showing up on time, and then honesty and integrity, where they're just doing what they said they would when they said they would. I think is a super important thing for me. But you would figure that out. Mm-hmm.
And going back to that contract component that Erin and I have that shared, value on as being contractually astute, it is the number one way to make a statement in your marketplace about your leadership and your team. When you have agents out in the marketplace and they are presenting offers in stellar ways and they know their contract and they are good to work with, and the systems, the process, and the procedure is so dialed in that the other agent on the other end of the transaction is like, wow, you literally made this deal easier. From an agent attraction standpoint, that is so, so powerful.
Yeah, for sure it is. Kristen, you can go to the next one here. Yeah, culture without accountability isn't culture, it's chaos. So that would be the next component is how are you going to hold these people accountable? Is it just the Tuesday meeting? Are you like, what are you tracking? Every team leader is going to feel differently about what they need to track, but everything has to be inside of a CRM. So if you are going to lead a team, like a CRM is like the end all be all, right? That tracks all of it. And if you aren't holding people exactly accountable to what they are responsible to do, whether that's calling 50 people a day or, making X amount of notes on things, then how are you going to lead, right? Yeah, that's kind of what I had on that one, because it's basically that you have to decide how you want to show up for your team. So like on my team, it's self-talk is very, very important, because a lot of real estate, like I can teach somebody how to do all of the systems and how to go sell 20 million, but I can't teach somebody necessarily just to have that positive mental attitude and changing the way that they think unless it's ingrained in my culture. And so one of the things that my team members do is that anytime somebody is like, oh, if I get this listing, we all respond back with, when you get the listing, right? It's really going off of exactly what that is. Yeah.
And just, I'm going to touch base on this slide a little bit, because we added leadership is consistency, not charisma. You can have personality and still be consistent. And we tied that into branding as a business decision rather than a creative exercise, which might seem like a disconnect, but your leadership is part of your branding, and that is part of the business decision that you're making. And that's part of the continual re-engagement with your people from a retention standpoint, right? So that really kind of is an example of tying the whole ecosystem together.
Right.
Okay, next.
So the clear expectations and how you're going to communicate regularly one-on-one and as a group. So some of the things that I do is I have a weekly team meeting, as well as I have a Slack channel set up. I also do quarterly Zoom calls or face-to-face with each of my agents. And it's important that I get on the same page with what their goals are. And then did they change at all? Did something happen in their life? Because if you are a disconnected team leader and you don't know that a parent passed away or a dog had to get put down or whatever, that agent is not going to be at the same level, and you can't continue to have that same expectation. Because it's just not realistic, right? So we constantly have to reevaluate goals and where they're at and what things are going to change with these new goals, right? Because you can't just move the goal down the line if nothing changes on their side, right? The other thing that I also have is PIPs, which are personal improvement plans. This is not, I like to say, this isn't what you do like to spite somebody. This is to get somebody back on track. And this is basically telling them of like, hey, listen, you and I agreed that we were going to be doing X, Y, Z, and you've fallen short on this. So here's exactly what we're going to do to get you back on track. And if you can't or choose to not do these things, then we're going to ask that you step back from the team or move to the indie team or the independent team. My marketing group. Yep.
Yeah. And did you say what PIP stands for?
Yeah. The personal improvement plan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And the PIP is a great example of, that activity breeds activity component. If you have agents that are sliding, helping them get back on track, as Erin was saying, there are a lot of different ways to manage that, but you have to actually put that into your book of things to do as a team lead, or you're really just have a group of people running around doing whatever it is that they want to be doing. And that is hard for consistency and cohesiveness and growth for sure.
Yeah, because like if you have a top producing agent and they see that somebody didn't get called out for not doing the work, then they don't want to continue hanging out with that on the team. They want to have that accountability. There's a reason why you pay for a trainer at the gym. It's because they're harder on you than you would be. Like if I just showed up to the gym, I can assure you I am not working out as hard as I am with a trainer, because they're holding me accountable. And that's exactly what this is as a team leader.
Yeah, for sure. So another thing that we talk to agents about is growth and ancillary services, right? We're all big believers in multiple income streams that can come through your own production. It can come through different team structures. It can come through working with multiple team setups. It can come from products and services that you sell. It can come from revenue share and stock. It can come from different business services. So for example, on the ancillary service section, and this would be kind of team building, 2.0, right? Your team building 2.0. And if you can move to the next slide, Kristen. Ancillary services are great, but you want to make sure you don't scale too fast, and you want to make sure you don't add things too quickly, because that can really create a lot of disruption. It can definitely kill culture, but it can also be a financial drain. So when I say ancillary services and additions, what am I talking about? Let's go to the next slide, Kristen. Oh, no, sorry. Well, we can stay here and I can just talk about what I was thinking. Ancillary services. I run a staging business. My staging business is, $80,000 to $100,000 a year in profit. That was something that I added 10 years ago, and it has been incredibly profitable. It is also a value add that I offer agents on my team. We have the in-house staging company. We stage all listings at no upfront cost. That is a recruiting component, right? And so that's another example of how the ecosystem all ties in. Erin has other ancillary services that she added to her business that aren't options in all states, but if they are options in your state, you should consider mortgage partnerships and you should consider title partnerships. Erin, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so obviously to Rebecca's point is that it's not in all states. You have to check on what your state allows, firstly. And then secondly, when you form these partnerships, they only want to deal with top producing agents and teams. They're not just going to give it to some willy-nilly that is maybe doing, 10 million a year, right? Like they're looking for long-term relationships with people, but also we have to remember that with RESPA, it can never be a this for that, right? Like that's exactly what that means, is the quid pro quo. So there are different JVs and different things that you could do. Like for instance, with my mortgage company, basically I chose to become a branch manager, okay, of this company. And essentially I have a lender that works for me. I list my husband, but it's neither here nor there. And then I have a lender that works for me, and it's a W-2 salary that gets paid out. So it's like 50, 60 grand a year. And then bonused essentially off of every single deal that comes in. So for a team leader, you can make another 150, 300,000, 500,000. I mean, the world is your oyster of if you have set up this mortgage properly, but it's again, not in all states. Please check with your state and your brokerage. I don't know. And then on the lending or on the title side, there's JVs and there's Moxies. So JV, remember that a title company can't just give you this for that kind of a thing. A JV is sharing in the profit of whatever the title company is making, right? And so there's the JV side. I chose not to do that. What I chose to do is a Moxie or a marketing agreement. And basically I do a certain amount of marketing and have to bring in a certain amount of leads in order for my title company to pay me money every single month. So right now I get $2,000 a month, and that helps with our marketing expenses for the team. And how I can buy leads and things like that is because I'm spending that money back into the team, but it's not coming from the team. It's not coming from me. So that's another good thing that you can set up as far as an ancillary business. The one I haven't set up yet is insurance, which I just haven't found the company that I like. I haven't found the JV or the setup that I like yet. Because obviously the biggest thing with all of these is that you have to disclose these things up front, right? You must have we have the ABA for our brokerages already in place, but you're going to have an ABA for your team, and it has to be signed by both buyers and sellers. I believe that's in all states. Just letting somebody know, like, hey, listen, if you choose to use my title person, guess what? Erin might have some interest in it. She might have a financial benefit. No one cares. Everybody signs them all day long, but they have to be told up front.
Yeah. And again, going back to, so Erin's in Arizona, I am in Oregon. They can do almost anything in Arizona, and we can do almost anything in Oregon. So check with state guidelines, and then also with when Erin and I met, I was like, wait, you have title, you have mortgage? Like, I could do that, but I actually can't do that. And so make sure you check. Most important with any ancillary service, and let's talk about another maybe more common one. I have team leads that bring on in-house photographers and videographers. If you're doing a certain number of transactions as a team, that is a huge benefit for your agents and also keeps with the consistency component. What you just want to make sure is that you are audited quarterly and you're expanding on only what's proven, and you want to watch your profits and your attrition. So for example, the in-house staging wouldn't make any sense if my agents weren't actually using it. I do actually have in my contract that staging a listing is non-negotiable. We do occupied homes, we do empty homes. We work with the sellers for editing and, weeding through the things in their home. But as a part of our business structure, like we take listings to market at a certain level, a certain, standard of care is what I call it. And so that's non-negotiable. You can make some of these, you can make some of your ancillary services mandatory, but you've got to have that conversation up front and it has to be in the contract. My agents on the reverse side, they're like, no problem on the staging front because we do it at no cost up front. We collect at closing. So it's remove the barrier of the seller saying, oh, I don't know. I don't think I want to do that. Right. Just making sure you're watching your profits and you're watching the attrition for any new services that you bring in. Super important. Another common is a social media manager is another common one that I've seen teams bring in that have been hugely valuable, and a way to structure something like a in-house photographer and or an in-house social media manager is that the agents aren't getting it necessarily for free. If there's an upcharge that becomes part of your profit margin and or your shared income generating from those two positions.
The other thing I was going to say on that, Rebecca, too, was like a TC also.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like some people will take that in-house. And then the other thing that I did just this last year, I know you do also, is charge admin fees. I don't actually care if my team member pays it or if the client pays it. Most of my team members will choose to do their whatever percentage, right? And in addition to that, a $595 admin fee. So 400 of that goes right to the TC, and then the team makes in another $195. Well, you think that those little fees don't add up, but the little fees do, because at 150 transactions, I mean, it's somebody's salary, right? Mm-hmm. Like it super adds up. Like even just the 195, like that's another 22,000 or 30,000 that we were able to add. Mm-hmm.
So, there are a lot of different ways to slice that. And what Erin, just to, further that conversation as we're wrapping up, I do the $595 admin fee is $595 per transaction. I actually don't allocate any of that to TC services. TC services are paid at whatever the commission split is on that deal because I have a graduated scale. So in some situations and one of my commission plans, my agents pay the TC fee directly. They do have to use the in-house TC. But that $595 per transaction for an admin fee, 100% of the time, it's a fee that's passed on to the seller or the buyer. We'll do probably 72 transactions this year. That's actually $42,000. So $42,840. That is, like Erin was saying, a salary. And those are some of the things that you want to consider as you're growing or expanding, or maybe even if you're in the phase of revamping an existing team. Making small edits like that can have a huge financial impact. And then the financial benefit is something you can pour right back into the team from a service standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, from an agent attraction standpoint. Okay, next up.
All right, girls. So we went through the 8 pillars just to recap what that was. It was the vision and structure pillar, team roles and responsibilities, contracts and compensation, systems and SOPs, marketing and branding, training and onboarding, culture, leadership and retention, growth, and ancillary services. So much good stuff was in all of that. All right, so we want to know if you guys could drop in the chat, what are your top 4 pillars? What are your bottom 4? Share a key takeaway, and what questions can we answer?
Yeah, because obviously we're going to go in deeper into all of these, and there's going to be specific to your situation and exactly, what you want to have out of your team. So it's important for us to kind of wrap our minds around of how we can help, because I feel like every single situation that I have talked to, every new team lead wants something completely different, right? So I think that that's been kind of fun though too, is that's where Kristen, Rebecca, and I were like, oh my gosh, every single person needs a team. They just don't know it. They just don't, they equate team to leading this huge group of people, right? But it doesn't have to be if that's not on your list of things to do. Right?
Yeah, or they have PTSD from the one team they joined one time that just happened to be really bad, and they're associating everything to be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kristen, maybe you could help to go back a page so they can see the pillars for these questions. Yeah.
Kendra, I'm going to just tap Kendra's question, and Erin touched base on it, but I think maybe there's two parts to this. Kendra said, do you set up and structure the accounting with your production versus the new team if you're currently an S Corp? We're definitely not attorneys. We're definitely not financial planners or accountants, but I can share that I have worked with a lot of teams that are, as an individual, they run, they're an LLC, they're an S Corp. The team is one business structure and they independently are another business structure, right? And so that would be something you would want to talk to your accountant about. I have it set up where the company is a structure and then I am individually a different business structure.
Yeah, I have all of mine because I essentially have the three. So I have the I cannot talk today. I have the marketing team, which is my 10% team. It's just some here's access to the Slack channel. Here's our recorded team meeting if you wanted, and here's some templates on things, right? Those are for the part-time agents or people that aren't ready to commit to the elite team. Like, I didn't want to miss them, but I'm not catering to that. I'm not answering all the questions in that. Then I have my elite team of agents. Those agents must be full-time and adhering to everything that I'm talking about, right? And then I have that micro team around me. So that micro team is all my business, though. That is not, so I only pay 10% max out of that. So that's what I would say is that how I have it structured is everything's under the Ethridge team or getting paid into my one PLLC, but behind the scenes, it is broken out as to who is in each one.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So there are a couple goodies that you guys get today. There's 4 resources for showing up and investing your time today. Oh, now we have a question real quick.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, when building out your SOPs and organizing your hub area, what would be your top areas to start with? Also, what are your favorite platforms for simplifying the number of platforms your team is having to use to track transaction process, CRM, and marketing? Okay, that's a loaded gun. Those are good questions, Alex. Okay, so when building out your SOPs and organizing your hub, top areas to start with, the best suggestion that we can give you is the next time you are ramping up for a listing, document every step in the process and start recording it on Loom. It takes no time to actually hit the record button while you're doing something. But it takes a lot of time to like go back and carve out a couple of weeks to actually run through all of your processes. So you want to actually start building that library as soon as possible and documenting your own work is a really easy way to do it. Platforms for simplifying the number of platforms and contract management, that one is a loaded question because, it depends how your business is set up. For me, one of the non-negotiables from a system standpoint is utilizing Dropbox for centralized storage. But that's a whole ecosystem thing because the Dropbox links on our folders tie into our contract management system. And for contract management, we use a system called Sphere. And that I have also, looked at Lofty from a contract management system as well. That really is like a bigger question that we definitely dive into with agents inside of the course.
And I can speak to that too, Rebecca. I just moved from Follow Up Boss over to Brivity. And this is not a pitch. I do not get anything for Brivity at all. But the Brivity started off as a transaction management tool, and then they added in marketing, and then they added in like the website and everything else. So that just from me switching from Follow Up Boss, I had 7 or 8 different things like Fellow, House Whisperer, Ylopo. So many different tools plugged in over here, right? Like where the agents were still only logging in once, but the amount of things I was paying for was $5,000 or $6,000 just by moving to Brivity, where everything is housed. I'm able to save that every single month. So I'm super stoked.
Yeah, and that's again part of your ecosystem. Brivity is a great program. Okay, Lindsay, how do you contractually handle an agent producing for the team? If they are accessing all team information and requirements on a split plan, how do you require them to produce for the team unless they are closing? I'm not sure I understand that question. If you could, give us a little bit more information, like how do you contractually handle an agent producing for the team? Do you mean not producing for the team? If that's the case, inside of my contract, it says that a production minimum per agent is 12 deals per year. If I have a new agent, I might edit that. And then I do clarify inside of the contract, I clarify what expectations are and what we're going to do if they don't hit that level. I hope that helped. I mean, Erin,
I have the exact same thing. I think that's what she's asking, but I have the exact same thing where I have minimum standards and then the expectations of like, if they've been with me for 0 to 6 months, I expect you to close this many houses. If you've been with me for 6 months to a year, it should be this many houses. If you've been with me for a year or longer, this many houses is where you should be at. And then here's what happens if you're not able to meet that. And that's when they get put on that PIP, that personal improvement plan. Yeah.
And if I take new agents, which I don't actually take new agents on the team anymore, I do have one that I brought on a year ago. Of course, the minimum transaction for a new agent, you would want to edit that. And I did for this particular agent. She is working with me with my clients one-on-one. So she's getting the education and the training. And I have what equates to really like a showing partner and, an assistant on the transactions outside of my TC.
But also what Rebecca did this last year, which got me thinking. So when I have agents join the team, I do have them pay a $350 deposit. Mm-hmm. They get that back on their 6th deal with the team. The reason why I did that is because I'm still paying for the admin to take their headshot and their, their bio and make the buyer packet, the seller packets, the cards, the everything. And I have no idea if they're going to sell anything. Firstly, I have no idea if they're going to stay on the team for 6 months, a year. Am I going to make any money? Right. I don't want to just lose money up front. But the other thing that I had just heard from Rebecca on one of the last calls, she's like, oh, I've got a quitting fee. I charged them $5,000 if they didn't sell anything in a year. Like, dang it, Rebecca, you're so smart. And that's
a little bit edited than that. What I have from my exit clause. What I have from the exit clause that is if they choose to leave the team in under a year. So I charge $750 for joining the team. My $750 is not refundable. And I have a clause in the contract that if they leave the team in less than 12 months, and in that 12 months have done less than X amount of transactions, there is a cancellation fee. There is basically a contract cancellation fee.
And I think that might seem kind of crazy for people, but I will tell you, I have had so many scenarios where somebody leaves a team and then all of a sudden they get a listing, right? And so it's like I see these things happen where these team leaders are pouring into these agents, and then all of a sudden they leave when money starts coming in, and it's just it's really great to have those things to protect you.
For sure. And also, if an agent is, you have to first be confident in everything that you are offering. It makes it easier to sell those features and those components, right, of a contract. But also, it quickly, I've had some agents, newer agents that I wasn't even sure I wanted to take on, say, oh gosh, yeah, I'm not paying anything to join a team. I totally understand and respect that. But you figure out you figure out quicker when you have things like that in your contract, who's super committed to you and who's not. And you're able to establish alignment or no alignment very quickly.
But also the right people have no problem. I just hired a guy yesterday. He's like, and I sent him over the Stripe link and he paid it immediately. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is not somebody that's like just testing the waters and wasting my time, right? Like, this is somebody that is committed to moving forward. And I like all of this call, you guys, will save you thousands of dollars and years of time.
All right, let's go into the tools, ladies.
Okay, business plan handbook. We have a great business plan handbook. You should have business plans for yourself. You should have every one of your agents completing a business plan, and then you should have a team business plan. Super excited for the February course. We've actually built out custom GPTs for this so that you could share that directly with your team and have everything done digitally inside of ChatGPT. But for today, we're giving you the actual fillable PDF version, and it walks you through a series of questions that will help you establish some holes in your business and help you establish some blind spots that you might need to remedy before moving towards a team, before moving on with your team. Okay.
The team handbook, you guys, I think that this is super important. This is something that both of us have in place. And this is just really imperative of like how you hand the team and how they should handle themselves. So everything from like how they show up at the meeting, how do you want them to dress, like everything of like how you handle transactions and what exactly your team is about and how you're going to treat and care for clients. The team handbook is basically your guide to basically tell them exactly what their expectations are on the team, just all in one handy little spot. Yeah. And so this is fillable, right?
Yeah. And also, if we're being completely honest, we should just rename this team handbook to something along the lines of, here's a list of every mistake we've made and how we fixed it. Because every single part of the team handbook came out of an SHIT moment. I can't believe that just happened. Who would have ever thought? Oh my gosh, let's write that down so it doesn't happen again. So the team handbook is developed out of years of like things going sideways. And so we've combined it all in one place. So, and a lot of agents, when they get this, they're like, oh my gosh, I had never even thought about it. Neither had we until a problem arose. So the team handbook is unbelievably valuable and took a lot of years and a lot of headaches to create. So we're hoping you don't have to go through that.
This one is, I believe, on my team, I don't want somebody to sell like me, right? Like, obviously, I am me. No one can be me, even though they try. But ultimately on my team, it's important that all of my agents run their business how they want to run their business. I don't care how they do it as long as we arrive at the money-making spot, right? So we work off of a 100-point week. This is the exact 100-point week that my team works off of. And every single week, I don't care how they do it. They just need to get to 100 points. So you'll kind of see how that is kind of gamified. And then they are racing other agents on the team. They're talking crap to each other. Like, I'm already at 65 points. I'm already at whatever. I don't care how they get to it. This is such a key thing. And what some people will do, you guys, is put it into their CRM, like in Brivity, I can put it in there. In other CRMs, you might want to have like something where it gets Zapiered in, or, you know, there's different ways that you guys can figure that out. Or even I was looking at some of these apps. I haven't found an app that I like yet, but if you find an app, let a girl know, where it's kind of some of like the weight training apps, or where you can race your friends at the gym. So hopefully I come up with that at some point here.
Okay, leader communication pack. This is a communication blueprint. This covers some of the conversations as a new team lead or as an aspiring team lead you might not realize you have to have with agents on your team. And so this is a series of questions and answers. It's a way for us to help you overcome some objections that we commonly see. So again, also built based on our experience over the years and some really awkward conversations we've had to have with agents in the past. So hopefully that helps with some clarity for you as well. And then Kristen, do we have everyone who has attended? Do we have all of the emails in order to deliver these all to the agents here?
I was on mute. Yes. If you've registered, you're going to get this in an email. Right. If you've not registered, you are going to get it in this the Monday email that goes out. We will have a replay in there with the deliverables.
Okay, great.
Oh, all right, guys. So we've been talking about, we are launching a masterclass, or not a masterclass. Oh my gosh, I'm like Erin today. Words are hard.
It is struggle bus today.
We have the blueprint for you. So again, like some people can just take what we just learned over the last almost 2 hours and go run with it. And that's great. But some people are like, you know what, I need more. And then I want to be in a community. So we have a blueprint that's going to be released in January, where we also have a Facebook community along with a retreat. So we will have all the details out very soon. If you want more information, just go ahead and scan this QR code. Put your name and your email in, and we'll reach out to you within the next week and get you all the details. I know some of you guys have already been filling it out, which is great, because we would really love to keep you in the loop and to get you all those details.
Yes. And if I could add one more thing to our blueprint is not idea driven. It is implementation driven. So we're delivering fill in the blanks for agents. We'll be delivering super actionable items so that you can build an entire ecosystem for your own team. It will be filled with details, done for you, components, marketing ideas, just a lot of valuable stuff to help you hit the ground running.
Great.
Awesome. Cool. Well, it's been everyone that's been engaging, and more have been filling out the form. So that's great. We can't wait to talk to you guys soon. And make sure you connect with all three of us on Instagram too. I'm at Hey Kristen Cantrell.
I'm at the Ethridge team.
Go ahead, Erin.
Oh, I'm at the Ethridge team.
Okay. I'm at RebeccaGreen.co.
Awesome.
Hey, let's go build something, ladies. Let's do it.
Thanks, Alex. Alex said this has been fantastic. And Lindsay said you guys are amazing. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.